Hi, everybody. Veronica Cole here. So, we're at the fifth day of the 5-day workshop, and I this is the last day of the workshop, but not the last day of what is continuing after the workshop. I'm going to be doing 4 interviews Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday following today at 3 o'clock. And one of them is going to be at 4. I'm just not sure. It's not Saturdays and it's not Sundays, but it might be Mondays, which I will let you know about in this page here. But these 4 interviews are bonus sessions for people, and they are individuals that I believe have a big message to tell people about whatever it is that they're specializing in or whatever it is that can raise your vibration and your energetic field. Tomorrow, we're going to be starting with Chelsea Hansen. Chelsea Hansen has written this book, The Sudden Loss Survival Guide, and I think you'll enjoy the interview with her. It's very enlightening, and that will be a fabulous start to Saturday. And then we're going to go from there. It, I'm very excited about it because I really appreciate all of these people, and I appreciate the gifts they have and the knowledge that they're willing to share. So we want to acknowledge them as well, and I'm hoping that you're going to join us. Let me see who's here today. Hey, Christopher, Michelle, hi. Sharon, hello. Rich, hi. Um, Melanie, glad you're here too. And whoever else is going to be jumping on, I'm just going to continue on as people come on. I'll try to catch them. But so it's very important for me to bring out the fact that I'm going to be having these special interviews, and you can take the knowledge with you and do whatever you want with it. But the point is that the knowledge will be there, and I'm so excited. I really am. I'm so excited to be interviewing these people. So excited to be bringing their gifts out there into the world, so that you can have other choices and other options to look at. Because what we're talking about here is raising consciousness, right? There's that word again. And that's what really, that's what my mission is to raise consciousness. And that's what I'm doing here with you right now. I'm very interested in raising consciousness. I'm doing that, hopefully, by some of these techniques that I'm showing you. And I know I'm flying through a lot of them, but you can pick up on some of them. And if you feel that you want further information, or you want me to go back and explain something to you, just write that in the comments. I will get that today, and I will go back over it and be sure that I get the information to you. Or you could just DM me also as well. But I guess what I want to start with is your spiritual gifts, because spirit is the foundation of everything. It's who we are. It's what comprises the world, the universe, really. And I remember when I was really doing heavy duty exploration into spirituality. I believe I had always done it, but I think I told you I was rooted in the Catholic Church initially, and I love the pomp and circumstance of the Catholic Church because I loved all of the rituals. And I loved the fact that I could go into church, and at the time that I went, it was more of a quiet setting. We didn't even turn around and welcome the person like they do now, and that sort of thing, which I think is great. But at that time, it was more of an individual experience. At least it was for me as a kid. And I loved that. I really felt that it had connected me, but it also brought some things to me that were somewhat damaging. And when I say that, I'm saying that, there is dogma that's all across in religions. And that's one of the reasons why, as I got older, that I started exploring other forms of religions and then other forms of what I became to understand as spiritual beliefs. And, you know, these are spiritual beliefs that, well, for instance, there is this whole thing about Jesus really being able to, that he was really into energy work. He created energy work. He was an alchemist. And Moses, they say, and I don't have a lot of knowledge about the Bible because we never really studied it until I was much older and then out of the church at that point. But I know that this is written in many, many things throughout history when it comes to religions. So that helps to further cement the reality for me that it's much bigger, this thing called spirituality, than what sometimes religion makes it. And there are a lot of really wonderful things about religion. Like I said, I love pomp and circumstance. And, you know, I love Judaism. My husband's side of the family is Jewish. So I love celebrating those markers and those holidays. And I love celebrating the fact that there is all of this concentration behind knowledge and learning. There's just so many things about it in Buddhism. Well, you know, Buddhism is all about eliminating suffering and bringing compassion to the world. And that's what I feel that I really am most of all, is about eliminating suffering and bringing in compassion. And, you know, if we can help somebody from suffering, then we just need to do it. And I think it's been a natural thing for me since I was really little. I mean, I remember when people would come to visit our home that I would just naturally pull out chairs for them, even when I was like a little one before I started school, like 4 years old. And I would pull out chairs for them and have them sit and welcome them. I mean, I actually did these things at 4 years old, and it was, you may have experienced this with some of your children or some of the children that you know, but little kids pick up on things. And my mother was very much into giving love and receiving love. And she wasn't so much into the receiving of it as much as she was into the giving of it, which I think was a somewhat of a drawback and held her back in her life, because she always believed in giving. She believed in giving a smile. She believed in giving things to people that were in need. And she believed in, you know, having a sense of beauty around her. She wanted to create beauty in her home, which she did. I mean, I would come home from school and a lot of times I would find the chair in a different place or the sofa in a different place, and the rooms would be different. And she would paint, and we lived in a very big house, and she would paint this herself on the inside generally every year. So we would have different colors that were surrounding us. And so I grew up in this environment, and I still like to recreate this in my own home because I believe that beauty is a part of spirituality, creating that beauty, creating that sense of beauty. And beauty for you might be different than beauty for me. For me, it's fresh flowers, it's having beautiful pictures that I appreciate around. And as I've gotten older, I've become more of a minimalist. So there are a lot of things that I just don't want anymore around me because it just has cluttered my life. But one thing I'm really having a hard time letting go of is books. I probably, when we moved from our large house, that I got rid of at least 500 books. And I'm still finding that I'm getting books and I'm also listening on audio. So there's so there's all kinds of stuff still really going on that makes me feel comfortable and that adds to my knowledge and that adds to my own expansion. So I want all of you to have that too. So some of your spiritual gifts are compassion, right? I just talked about that. So compassion is a big spiritual gift. And because I think I have all the participants here, I believe, are empaths. And empaths naturally understand compassion because you're feeling with the heart. You're taking things in with your heart. And that's the main way that you're operating, is through your heart. The intellect is very important because we have to sometimes balance that out a little bit with the heart. But in my opinion, if you're leading with the heart, you can't go wrong, because I know when I'm leading with my heart that it's also combined with my intuition, and it never leads me astray, because love is the most powerful thing that we can experience, and it's the most healing energy in the world. And like I had said yesterday, even the scientific evidence, which this is evidence based, the heart, you can still experience the energy of it from 3 feet away. That's the heart. It's not the brain. I forget what the percentage is of the brain, but it's a little bit different. So the heart is the key to life. The heart is the key of everything. So your intuition is a spiritual gift. The ability to love, the ability to love. Now, if we have been squashing down things, if our conditioned self, as I've been talking about every single day, the conditioned self, which is the wounded part of us, that in the wounded child, it thinks it's helping you, it thinks it's keeping you safe, but in reality it's squashing things down, not permitting you to go forth with certain things. It'll try to convince you that this isn't good for you, this is bad for you, or like, oh no, that's too scary, or why do you want to do that, make you question it. And it operates in us because we had wounded parents who brought their own wounds with them and then parented us that way. And this is not a blame on the parents, because when we know better, we do better. And I'm sure that there were other attributes that they had that were circumventing some of these issues. And then, and of course, that does not include abuse, because abuse is a whole different ball game. That's a very conscious act. And I always feel very sad when I hear that somebody has endured this. So, you know, when we love, we bring in the healing energy to us. And to get to that point of being able to love ourselves and to bring that in, we have to accomplish certain things. We have to go inward and go into those deep, dark places of us, sometimes to really find out who and what we are, and to not allow the conditioned self to operate, to get to our authentic self. And to know the difference is very important, to know when you're operating from your conditioned self as opposed to your authentic self. And I don't know if any of you have been, you know, operating in that conditioned self and recognizing it, because this week what I talked about is just being an observer of yourself, being an observer when you feel that you're being overly critical of yourself, or when you feel like you're pushing away something that is really important to you, or you thought it was important to you. Just examine it. I mean, is it really a self-protective mechanism that's trying to protect you? Is it really that, or is it your conditioned self that it just puts you in a place of fear, and it'll operate as confusion, but it's all fear. It'll operate as in a million different ways. So we have to become good listeners of ourselves, of our inner voice. And then we have to become good listeners in general, because that's another spiritual gift. Have you ever been around somebody and you really wanted to share something that was going on with you, and the other person will intersect with their story or their experience and just keep doing that? Well, this is what happened to me, and this is what happened to me, and oh, I know what you mean, I did this and I did that. That's not what good listening is. If you need to have somebody that's a good listener, make sure you pick that person well, because you'll just be frustrated. Because what you're going to end up doing, because you're an empath, is you're going to end up trying to respond, not trying, you'll respond to them and you'll take care of them. And because that's what that person is doing, is they want to be heard, they want to be taken care of, and it's their wounded person that's talking. So we send them a lot of love and we bless them, but they're just not really the best people in the world to be a part of what it is that you need somebody to hear you. And when you need somebody to hear you, need them to be good listeners. Another spiritual gift is spiritual vision. I often talk about, hi, Rochelle, I'm seeing her, and hi, Susan and Regina. I often talk about spiritual vision, like seeing with your spiritual eyes. And seeing with your spiritual eyes is it's your spiritual vision. So you're seeing beyond what's being presented to you. You're seeing more than just what's being said or told, or more than you're observing. I'll try to give you an example. Well, let's see. Um, okay, so when I was much younger, I have an aunt who I have a lot of relatives who live in California, but I was visiting this aunt. I was about 14, and I traveled with my uncle and my other aunt to go to this place in California. And this uncle had a tendency to be judgmental and a bit punitive. And I remember being in this situation at we had a patio outside that we were sitting at. And I had another loving aunt that was there. And this uncle said something that was so punitive to me because at the age of 14, I wasn't really, I was, I was quiet. I was quiet. And I was very cautious about certain things. I loved it. I loved making people feel good, so that was my thing. I would make people feel good by doing cooking, and that they would appreciate, because I grew up in a household where we're always cooking. There were 7 of us kids, so I was always cooking or baking. And I don't know exactly what it was that he said, but I remember how hurt that I was. I was so hurt. So I quietly removed myself from the patio table, thinking nobody saw me because everybody just continued what they were doing. Nobody paid any attention to what happened. And I went into the bedroom where I was staying at the time when I was visiting this aunt, and I just began to cry. I was so upset because this is not the first time this uncle had said things that made me feel very small or made me feel unimportant, and it brought shame. And shame is like one of the worst feelings in the world to try to work with, because if you're feeling shame, that's like saying that your whole being is not worthy, you know? And it's a very painful feeling to have. And I remember I was not even in there 5 minutes, and this really wonderful aunt that I love, who has since passed on. I call her my aunt, but she was actually a cousin. She was much, 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 much older than me. And her name was Rosalie. And Rosalie was just unbelievable. She was that way from the time I was a little kid, and that she was really well into adulthood, but she was just wonderful. And I always considered her my aunt. And she came in, and the first thing she said to me is, "You know what, honey? That was wrong what he did. I'm so sorry. How are you feeling?" And just talking about it now could bring up tears in me, because I remember the sense of love that she gave me. Oh my gosh, the feelings are overwhelming right now. And that love was so healing to me, because after her being with me for a few minutes, um, I felt whole again. I felt like I was worth something. I knew that somebody cared, that somebody loved me, and that I was special to someone. And then I was able to go back out. It was after a while. I was able to go back out and integrate with everybody. But so that's an example of seeing with spiritual eyes, because she saw beyond. She saw what happened, but she saw beyond that, because she knew that I was hurt. She saw me quietly leaving, and I looked like I was okay. Maybe I was going to go to the bathroom, maybe that's what these other people thought. But she observed this, and after a while, she came in and she comforted me. She gave me love. So that's spiritual vision, spiritual eyes, seeing with spiritual eyes. The other spiritual gift that you have is your wisdom. Now, chances are you've been on this planet for I don't know how many years, but your spiritual wisdom is very prevalent. And your wisdom is everything that you can do and everything that you are. So, the wise part of you, remember talking about the wise, loving adult, that exists. And that's the part of you that you want to tune in. That's the part of you that takes care of your wounded child. And that's the part of you that is loving and wanting the best for you. Okay, wanting the best for you, wanting the best for your wounded child. Remember what I talked about? If you get a picture of yourself and you place it on your nightstand or somewhere as a child, right? And you observe that or you see that several times during the day, and when you do, just like send her some love, you're really actually helping to facilitate healing in yourself and your unconscious, because this is all buried. It's all buried, and you have to excavate it. Somebody, generally you have to have help to excavate. Um, but it's possible. It's possible. And like I said yesterday, it's not about ripping the band-aid off and, having you be devastated, but it's a gentle process that happens. But when it does, it opens up all of these doorways. This is what your spiritual gifts do when you're able to tune into them, when you're able to bring more love into your life, and you're able to utilize and see with your spiritual eyes. You also, as a spiritual gift, you can create. You can be a great creator. I know I'm looking at people here, and with the exception of maybe a couple of people, I know that you are all extremely creative individuals. You have a lot of gifts that you offer to people, and you have a lot of gifts that you can give to others and to the world. Some of them you may be in touch with, some of them you're not. And that's the other thing about going in and doing this excavating, is that you discover a lot of the creativity that you have, because that's another buried part of you. You may have some of it that's out there right now and you're able to do some things, but if you have an inkling that something bigger is brewing and you just don't know what it is, that's part of the spiritual you that's knocking on your internal door, wanting it to be opened. The other thing is humor. I love to laugh. Anybody that knows me knows that I love to laugh. I love to, I can be a little bit snarky sometimes, but it's all in good fun. Unless, of course, I'm saying something that's really, you know, uh, traumatic to something, which hopes to somebody, which hopefully I don't do that. But if I've said something that's off color for somebody, then I take responsibility for that. But humor is such a game changer, because it can break up some of these dark moments that we might have. And I utilize humor all the time with people when I'm coaching them. I really find that you have to have humor in order to facilitate the expansion, because sometimes you just can't always be in this place of just, work, 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 work. You have to have the humor to help you out. Another spiritual gift you have is connection. So, connecting with other people like we're doing in this group, um, this is part of your spiritual gifts, because, as I have said, we heal in community. And yes, we can heal individually. We can heal, because I coach one on one, but I also have groups, and I believe in doing this too. I believe in like bringing the group together, group, the right bunch of people, and having them help each other to move along. And that connection is so powerful. It's so powerful and so big and so expansive, because you've got all of this energy with everybody who's more or less on the same wavelength, because as I said, as empaths, we're like going like this. We're like a broadcasting system. We're like antenna. And we're constantly roaming and seeing what's out there and what everybody is feeling. And my goodness, what a great gift that is, right? So I know to be empathic is sometimes, some people feel it's a burden because people don't feel as deeply as they do, and they think that, that Not that there's something wrong with you. Well, they do think there's something wrong with you. Yeah. I know I was told, oftentimes throughout my life that I'm too sensitive. And, for years until I got myself into therapy and figured this stuff out through a therapeutic process, um, I realized that I wasn't too sensitive. I had a gift, and other people just weren't seeing what I was seeing, or they weren't feeling what I was feeling. And my eyes were opened, but it's the people around me that didn't have the open eyes. And of course, not everybody, because there were pieces of situations and people where they were, but for the most part, you know, and it would always be somebody that was highly critical, and they didn't want to feel themselves, so they were squashing that down because that's their wounded child. They didn't want to feel, and they didn't want you to bring that out either, and they didn't want to see what you had to see. They didn't want to know. So you know we oftentimes need support to understand that it's not really us doing something bad, because that's how it's categorized sometimes, but that it's just us trying to live in this world of people who are often closed off, people who are narcissistic, very involved with themselves and very involved in just taking care of what is theirs, or what they think that they want to have in this world. And it's not about taking care of you. You want somebody who's connecting, I had a great friend, and I say had because she has since passed on, but her name was Barbara. And one of the great gifts of Barbara is her ability to connect. She was able to be in a room with all different kinds of people, and she could connect and make people not only wonder, oh my gosh, who is this great person? Because she had this ability to connect, but she brought so much humor and so much life with her. And she taught me something, and I feel like part of her gifts I took in and internalized as well, because I just love the presence of her, having her around, even if we did nothing, but we're just sitting there, chatting, or doing something that was just sort of like taking a walk. Or when our children, I mean, she had a child and I had a child, a couple of years apart, and we would go places and just be involved with that, and just being moms and doing our thing. And before we were mothers, we were just out and being with each other just to enjoy each other. um, so when you have these gifts, just recognize that not everybody's going to get you. Not everybody is going to really think you're so wonderful. Not that you have to feel wonderful, but you want to feel valued. You want people to know that, hey, this is me and this is what I'm thinking and feeling. But you know other people's issues are other people's issues. They're not yours, and you really need to separate that. You need to understand that this is their thing, and if they can't understand you, well, there are other people that can understand you, and you want to be around those kind of people, because those are the ones that are going to fuel you and that are going to help you to expand and help you to feel a part of this wonderful life. And I think life is beautiful. Life is wonderful. It's tragic at times, but it's absolutely beautiful. You're an energetic transmitter. You're transmitting your energy out into the world. And that's part of your spiritual gifts too. So your energy can touch another human being, and it can cause them to feel understood. It can cause them to want to all of a sudden feel like, yeah, why don't I go do that? Like you can actually make a difference to the point where they're going to feel supported enough that it just triggers off a light bulb in them to go and do something that they had been wanting to do forever but felt very inadequate, or that they couldn't do it. And to be an energetic transmitter, wow, that's another way of helping the world to evolve, because the more that you can do that for yourself, the more that you do that for other people around you, because that's the place where you want to live, right? Um, so we've been talking about alchemy this whole time. Well, actually, that's what alchemy is. It's a dynamic force. Um, it's a dynamic force and a power of manifestation. And this was thought in it was taught in Greek schools, and um, and later in Egypt as well, in their sacred, I think they had something called the Sacred Academy, and it was there as well. So it's been around for thousands of years. This whole idea of alchemy, of transmuting and becoming transformational in whatever it is that you're doing in your life, and it's been a mystery as well as it's been something that has been valued. And in recent years, I believe that there is a lot of alchemical thinking that's going on, and a lot more of it being practiced in a way like we're doing here, bringing out all of these wonderful gifts and seeing with your spiritual eyes and knowing how special that you are, not because you're a human being and you're this special because you're like everybody else, right? But you have gifts that might be unique to you and that are unique to you and special. And what a great way to live. So dynamic alchemy, which is what it's being called really now, is the essential force in bringing about a true spiritual transformation. Okay, um, you want to be able to be rooted in this thinking and in this ability to feel deeply. Um, Vibration, by the way, is it's the uh, it's the movement of energy. And what I was going to do today, or what I am going to do today, is to have us do a couple of exercises around vibration, the movement of energy. And the first one is it's a very simple one, but it's also very, oops, okay, I don't know if I said hi to Rochelle. Hi, Rochelle. But it's very simple, but it's a really dynamic example of vibrational energy and what vibration feels like. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to rub your hands together for about 30 seconds. We'll do it together. Just rub them together. Just keep rubbing them. They're going to feel warm. Okay, now take it and cup your hands like this so that you have just one that's kind of like this, you see? And raise up a little bit. You're going to feel some tingling in your hands, okay? Raise up a little bit more. And now just kind of go closer to your hand and start to, do you feel that? Just kind of go like this. And you feel that energy. Does anybody else feel that when you get through? I'd like you to put it in the comments if you're feeling it. And you go up again, come down again. There's like a push or a magnetic feeling that you're getting. That is your energy. That's your chi, that's your prana, and that exists. So, did anybody feel that, by the way? I'm just kind of curious if you put that into the chat. Okay. So, yeah. So, Rochelle, you did, Rich did, Susan did, Amanda did, Okay, great. Um, Wonderful. Okay. So that's a prime example of your energy. And, today what we were really focusing on was, how energy can support your nervous system. Well, anything that you're going to do, which is going to, first of all, we talk about your spiritual gifts. Anything that you can do is definitely going to enhance your nervous system, and it's going to help it to heal in terms of having loving experiences, um, because we're also talking about healing, and it's an intention, and it's an intention that is everything. When it comes to healing, you have to have intention. um, it requires focus and um, self, like a sense of your self observing and experiencing something. It takes dedication to heal. All of that does. It's it's not an easy process, but it's not an impossible process. So you can heal with some of your own energy, but also you need to remember that energy extends way beyond you. And when I had done, oh gosh, I can't think of his name now. This is many years ago. I worked, I didn't work, I did a workshop with him. And I can't think of his name, but he was very big into creating these energetic uh, workshops. And I forget his name. Can't remember. I also did something with Eric Pearl too for a weekend, but this guy was really good. He was Asian. And I remember that was the first time that I truly experienced uh, a feeling of my own power, my own, of who I was. It was like, wow, I have this type of energy that exists around me. I can create, and I can do all of this with the energy that exists with me. Um, you know, Working with energy and working, alchemically will change your life, and it'll change your circumstances in your life. It helps raise the vibration of the universe. And like I said before, when you're doing that, you're helping the universe to evolve, you're helping yourself to evolve. And, you know, even something as seemingly simple as crying is really helpful too, because there are a lot of toxins in crying. And when you cry, you release all of that. So crying is valuable. And I know some people have been taught that they shouldn't cry, or that if you cry, I'll give you something to cry about. And I know that a lot of little boys were completely they either were not, maybe they weren't told that, but they experienced that around them, and they weren't, so they picked that up because it became a societal norm for little boys to not cry. Or especially when you get to be older, oh my gosh, you don't ever have a man cry. That's like, no good. And I think some of that is changing now, but I believe that a lot of this is changing because it's people like us that are doing what we need to do to expand consciousness, to bring out these things into the world, and to love people and understand that they're okay, and that it's all right to feel sad. It's all right to not have something that you wanted and then feel devastated by it. You can have whatever feeling you need, because there is nothing wrong with any feeling. You know, in modern psychoanalytic training, uh, I had so many breakthroughs and realizations, and unbelievable things happened to me in my training. And one of them was to understand that I could have all my thoughts and feelings. Oh my gosh, what a novel idea. You mean they're not bad? If I'm thinking a thought about somebody because I'm pissed off at them, that's not a bad thought. That's not something that I shouldn't do. And you know, the thoughts aren't going to kill me unless there's a repetition of them, and I'm fostering something and believing in something that is not going to serve me. But to just have your thoughts and feelings, oh my gosh, that's what we need to do, because that's how we're releasing certain things, to be able to release that energy and then to get on to something else. And so, you know, to know that I could have, I remember that I was encouraged to have my murderous thoughts. And I thought, what? Oh my gosh, I can't think that way. To this day, I'm still very cautious about even saying something like this to somebody or talking with somebody like this, because they take it the wrong way. They think that, you know, that having a murderous thought means you're going to go out and commit murder. No, you're not going to go out and commit murder because you're thinking a murderous thought. You, if you're going to commit murder, it's because this is who you are and this is the place that you've gone to, or this is the place that has snapped you into that position, because some people are very fragile and this is where they can go because they don't have good coping skills. But it's usually something that's a little more thought out, or if it's, you know, faster, I mean, that's a whole different thing. But I'm talking about having the murderous thoughts, because if we can allow ourselves to have the murderous thoughts or the murderous rage that is within us, and that's rage, remember, as I've talked about too, that's not regular anger, that's like anger that's built up. But if we can allow ourselves to have these thoughts and feelings, oh my gosh, what it can release in us and what it can allow us to do. And so, how do you do that? Well, remember, I talked about finding somebody that you could speak to frankly about this, that you could talk to, and that you could let them hear what you have to say about this. And you might even, once you release that, you might even have a joke about it, you know, and it can be very graphic. But a lot of times, what happens is we take these thoughts and feelings and we bury them and we don't talk to anybody about it. But you still got all that inside of you. What did you do with that? You have to release that somehow, and then we suppress it. So we suppress it because, you know, we don't want to be bad people and have these awful thoughts and feelings. But, you know, it's freeing to have your thoughts and feelings, and you have to know who you're telling it to, and you can't just talk to anybody, because many people just don't understand this process. Many people don't understand that, you know, thinking it because of a situation that you were in, or just because you're so frustrated, doesn't mean you're going to do it. It just means that that's the boiling point for you. That's the point that needs to be released. So again, I want to encourage people that, you know, be kind and gentle with yourself and recognize that whatever you're thinking and feeling, again, unless it's like a repeated pattern or something that is creating tremendous suffering because of the situation, you know, it's like you're you're bigger than that anger. And it's really just the release of that anger that can free you. You're bigger than that because you're a spirit. Remember, we're spiritual beings having, you know, a human existence, right? A human experience. You know that. And because of that, you know, we have to like release things, they get trapped in us. So, and one of the first things I talked about was in my analytic training that I learned is that it's the suppression of anger that creates the pathology. So if you do it for long enough, you create these feelings that you have, or you allow yourself to feel the feelings. That's different. You're freeing them. But if you're suppressing them for long enough, they will either attack your mind or they'll attack your body. So you will have symptoms of things. And I would say that, like, I'm going to go out here on a limb and I'm going to say that I think the majority of illness um, is oftentimes created by this suppression. And then it's oftentimes created by the choices that we make, the choices that we make in our physical bodies, like suffer from all of this. But if we allow ourselves to release some of these things and release these patterns, that can heal us as well. It can heal some of those physical symptoms. Um, Mentally, you know, Have you ever experienced anxiety? Have you ever experienced things where, you know, almost a psychoses? And you know, if you look at all these different things that people have talked about with symptoms, we all experience them at one time or another. It just may not be for a long period of time. But we're not psychotic people. We might have a psychotic episode for a moment, a split second even. But it doesn't mean that's who you are. You're just because you see that's the other thing people think. It's like, oh my gosh, I had this thought or I had this feeling. I must be psychotic. I must be crazy. You're not crazy. You're not crazy, and you're not a psychotic individual. You're just having an experience which is so powerful that it's including some of these that you would never have thought were going to be. Um, so now I wanted to talk a little bit about mudras, and we're going to go into mudras. And mudras are, you know, they're subtle hand gestures, and they guide energy and they expand consciousness is what they do. And I think that most of you know that I'm also a Kundalini yoga teacher, and well, I studied it. I haven't actually done a lot of my own classes for a long time because I've been in my own healing, so I do my own healing work separately. But being in a yoga class is like amazing, and I'm a Kundalini yoga instructor, and to me that is my prime choice of yoga. Um, and you use mudras. And mudras awaken your energy body. We have two bodies. We have the physical body, and then we also have the energy body. So there are more than that, even. But just for the sake of what we're going through here, I'm just going to talk about the fact that we have a physical body and an energy body. And so these mudras tune into the energy body and the physical body. There are actually mudras that you can do for specific organs in the body and specific situations in your body. And if you practice these on a regular basis, and it happens to have to do with a lot of the touch points that mudras will encompass. So, mudras are used for, physical and mental health. They're used for to boost your vitality, and they lower your blood pressure, and it's calming, it's relaxing. Who wouldn't want to do a mudra? You just need to know what they are, right? So I'm going to just give you a simple one here, the Shuni Mudra, which is probably something that many of you that practice yoga have done. And if you take the tip of the thumb and the tip of the middle finger and you focus on your heart, right? You go like this and you focus on your heart for 5 minutes. This is a very, very healing, energetic experience that you can have. Okay, that's one mudra. So again, it's the tip of the thumb touching the middle finger. Okay, and then what you do is you take that, you can do this in both hands, and then you take that and you can put them on your lap and you can focus on your heart for 5 minutes, and that will bring a tremendous sense of calm and peace. It brings you really, really wonderful a sense of centeredness. And then there's Uttra Bodhi mudra, and I'm thinking of Uttarakhand, which is where I was in India. So, and that's very similar to this. So, the Uttra Bodhi, Uttra Bodhi is about awakening the truth, and it's about uh, helping with mental clarity, inspiration, and what you want to do when you do this mudra is to direct your breath to your heart center and to the chest and to the ribs. And I'm trying to think because I don't think you're going to be able to see this on me, but I'm going to show you a picture of what it looks like, okay? So here it is, and it's crossing your hands in front and then putting the pinky finger, letting those touch, and the thumbs touching. And so I don't know how much of this you can really see. So you want, there it is. So you want, it has to go like this though. It can't go. I was trying to show you the other side so that you could see that my fingers are crossed that way. But you want the tips of your pinky finger to be pointing up and then your thumbs to be down. And then what you do is you can place it just by your chest, by your heart. And again, this is for mental clarity. It's, for the heart. It's awakening your truth, your personal truth, your intuition again. And what a wonderful mudra this is. And all you do is you breathe into your heart, the front of your chest, the back of your chest, and allow that breath to circulate through all of those 3 areas, okay? I love that one. How do you listen? Do you guys like mudras after I'm talking about this? What do you think? Tell me if you do. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Okay. Sharon, Melanie, okay. Christopher. Yeah, Qigong and Tai Chi are great too. That's right, Christopher. They're wonderful. I wish I had more time with you guys because I would be talking about all this stuff or bringing on people that could share more of this with you. But yeah. So there are so many, 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 many great things about doing energy work and about being grounded. Um, you want to be able to get in touch with your breath, and that's why we did breath work a couple of days ago. And I really thought that it was very important because it's another element of being able to open you up to bring peace and calm and to have another practice that you can do that is easy. Breath work is easy. Well, it's easy to do, but sometimes people have, they have reactions to it. Some people have a hard time with it initially, but then once you get used to breath work, you see that the cleansing and oxygenation, how valuable that is to your whole psyche and your whole spirit. Um, Okay, so you're feeling the breath moving from all parts of your body and being when you're doing breath work. And that I think was in video, was it in 2? If you're not watching the videos, try to go back if you have missed any of them and watch them because in each day we're either doing an exercise or I think in every single one I've done exercises. And so that we can understand and work with some of this stuff better. Um, so, oh gosh, it's already almost, all we have is like 7 minutes left. I didn't realize that. There's a couple more things I want to say, but first of all, it has been such a great experience for me to be with all of you because energetically I feel you too. So I love that feeling. I was talking about this last night with my family and I said, it's funny when that camera is on and I'm live, I feel like I have all of this energy that comes out of me and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's healing for me. Afterwards I feel like, I'm exhausted afterwards, but while I'm in the experience, it's wonderful for me. I wanted to make sure that people also know about, going back, listening to the videos if you haven't seen all of them, because they all offer some vital information. And I'm also helping to cement the whole ideas about the conditioned self and what that is and how it is compared to your authentic self and how you can work with that and how to recognize it, because that's a vital piece of information that will help you tremendously. It will help expand you. The moment that you recognize that, you can do something about not being trapped by it all the time, and look, sometimes it's going to happen because that's the way it is. It's like we're not always going to be on guard or always looking at it. But you need to talk to that inner wounded child, and you need to let her know that you love her and that she's valuable and that you're going to take care of her as the loving, wise adult. You're going to be there for her. You're going to be her safety net. She doesn't have to worry about stopping you from anything anymore. She doesn't have to worry about putting fear into you, about making you feel like, oh, this is not the right thing for me at all, and being scared because you don't want to move forward or you don't want to talk to somebody about something. Your inner wise adult, your inner wise parent is going to give you the chutzpah, if I could use that word, to just get out there and do what you need to do and to not hold yourself back from your sad, wounded child. And because your sad, wounded child is going to heal too, we're going to help her with this, or him. All right? So I want to let people know that doors are open to working with me for a transformational experience. And honestly, this is going to change your life. I mean, I know many of you are actually, I know a couple of you have decided that you wanted to join me, and I welcome you with open arms. But I want others to know that the enrollment is through Wednesday of next week, and that there is a link below where I have a page that you can click on the link after I forget what it is that I wrote, something about how wonderful this workshop is, because I know we're coming to the end of it and I wanted you to have the experience of being able to continue to work with me. So I posted that. And so and the videos will be up until I think the end of Tuesday. So if you want to catch those videos, I suggest that you do that. And you might have a few questions. And if you have questions, because I didn't post anything where you could pay right there, because this is a paid program, and I think you just really need to give me a call and have a discovery session. It doesn't mean that you have to do anything. It just means that you have to talk about what it is that I'm offering and how it's going to work and if it's right for you. Because I have openings available to talk at right after this, and also I think until 8 o'clock, and then I have some the same time tomorrow morning, and then at 3 o'clock we're going to have that wonderful guest that I told you about, Chelsea um, Hanson. So if you have questions, then I have those slots available for you to give me a call and we can talk about it. So I just want you to say in closing that this is a trajectory that will open up and identify aspects of you that you did not even know existed. And I don't think I'm being silly here. And this is what I've been talking about all along, is that we're, being able to open up these spaces in you is incredible. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter at all, because, I'm a lifelong learner and I'm a lifelong seeker, and it's going to be that way until the day I die. So I just want to grow and I want to expand. This work will transform your life. So I want everybody to know that I thank you, and that if you look at this and first of all, what a pleasure it has been to do this. It really has been. And because I know that people need different options and different ways to do this, I mean, there are all kinds of bonuses when you look at that particular page. There are different ways that you can pay. You can pay in payments, you can pay in full, or like I said, you have to give me a discovery call, because we can talk about that if you're interested. So if this is for you, I'm here. All right. So thank you for joining me. And it's been great. It's been great. And thank you so much for sharing this past 5 days with me. And gosh, I hope I get to work with you guys, really. Because it's an honor. It really is, to be able to help somebody to transform, to build consciousness. What greater gift is there than that? and especially to do it in a format where you're in a group, but also you get to work with me individually with just you and I, and to really further cement some of these things and to get to the issues that are yours personally. So that's how this works. You know, it's like what's going on with you is not going to be going on necessarily with everybody else. So we do have to have that individual and that group experience. So, and in the dynamic that I would be offering, it's going to be in a different format where people will be able to speak and Zoom. All right, everybody, have a good rest of your weekend. I hope you come in at 3 o'clock tomorrow and experience Chelsea Hansen. Her book is terrific. Thank you so much. Be well.